joining. That's basically a small session that I wanted to run. And first of all, for an opportunity to connect, as well as an opportunity to show how you can facilitate discussions online, and even a simple thing as virtual link coffee. You can use different tools to allow your teams to come together, have discussions, and actually discuss things that are relevant to them. This is something that I think you can use in any retrospective, for example, especially if you're not really prepared, because that's the retrospective where the teams can help basically create the topics that they would like to discuss. As well as this is a great way to connect people from different departments and to connect people to get together and start talking about maybe some organizational challenges, or maybe just learning about each other and the work that they do. Now, the way you can use it is either as a community of practice, or something that we used to do is to run link coffee in, for example, in an organization where you invite people from basically any department, different departments all together at a certain time every Thursday at 3 p.m., for example, and whoever shows up, and you bring coffee if you have the budget to do so. And in this case, everybody get their own coffee and stays safe and stays at home, right? So the way it runs, everybody gets a chance to submit a topic. So then we vote, everybody gets a chance to vote on each of the topics. And that way we identify what topic or what question is the most important. And kind of the thing that a lot of people have on their mind. And that way we only discuss the most important topics that the group brings to the table. And you usually time it well, right? We generally do the time box of 8 minutes, 5 minutes, and 2 minutes if you want to continue discussing. So first time you discuss this topic for 8 minutes. At the end of 8 minutes, everybody can vote whether they want to continue discussing this topic or not. And then you might extend the time box up to 2 times. In this case, the way we'll do it, we'll do 7 minutes, then we'll vote, and then we'll do 4 minutes if we decide to continue. And because we are online, I believe it would be better to actually invite you into the discussion instead of me just talking to my screen about the topics there. So the way I want to do this is once we include the topics, once we vote on topics, I'd like to ask for volunteers to join me into the discussion of a topic that has the highest votes. That way we can actually have an interesting discussion around that instead of just me presenting it to you. What we'll do, we'll just spend a couple of minutes to allow everyone to add a note with a question. I'll give you 2 minutes. If you haven't added a note or a question there, just go ahead and do so, and then we'll do some voting. Let's stop the idea generation here so that we can have time to vote and actually have this discussion. We do have a lot of notes, so I'll give you enough time to actually read through the notes and vote. What I did is I gave you 5 votes per person to look through the notes, and you can distribute the votes however you like. You can put all 5 onto one note. Obviously, do not put all of your votes on your question. Try to distribute it around and look at other questions that are there. You can distribute it however you want. We have two sticky notes with 9 votes. Let's just go with the first one I see in my list, which is the daily Scrum. And we can start discussing. So I would like to have some volunteers to actually join me in this discussion. Whoever would like to join, just raise your hand, either in chat or if you're on video in real life. Let's start the timer for us to actually start this discussion. So I'm zooming into on my screen. So let me read through the note itself. Daily Scrum can adjust the sprint backlog. Does that mean that we can remove items from the sprint if we believe we're not going to be able to finish them during the sprint? And if we do so, doesn't that mean sort of failing to complete all sprint 100%? So we can remove items from the sprint in Daily Scrum? What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
well, I'll start because, or Lisa, over to you, or anyone else. But I think.
My question. So I was wondering about your thoughts.
Okay, I'll respond right away to the 2 question marks that are here. Does that mean that we can remove items from the sprint if we believe we are not going to be able to finish them during the sprint? I mean, sensibly, I think if the team feels that they're not able to finish what they had planned from sprint planning, they responsibly should have some negotiation with the product owner. And if there's too much work to do within the sprint, they do need to figure out a way to reduce that scope, perhaps while still achieving the sprint goal. Maybe there's still a way to achieve the sprint goal while cutting back some of the work without cutting back the quality. There's a thought. Over to you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the main point where I always see is that there is a misconception that the sprint backlog has to be 100% complete, and that's the goal of every sprint. But in reality, the goal of every sprint is a sprint goal that was defined, right? Unfortunately, it sometimes can be difficult to define the sprint goal, and a lot of teams don't really do it. That's what makes 100% of sprint backlog complete the goal, because there's nothing else kind of to look forward to apart from that. But kind of answering the question about failing, does it mean that we are failing to complete the all sprint 100%? You can still succeed in achieving the sprint goal even if your backlog was reduced. So I feel that's where the sprint goal has to be the focus of work. The backlog is just a way to get there. Okay.
My thoughts are, for example, sometimes it's really hard to make a goal when all the tasks are so different from each other, and you just can't have one idea about a goal when the tasks are, one is documentation and the other one is, I don't know, a UI feature, and then the other one is in the back end, and you can't have one specific goal. So if you keep, in every sprint, if you keep having some tasks that you're not gonna be able to completely finish, then first of all, your velocity is less than what you were counting on the sprint planning every time. So you should really think about not putting so many items in your next sprint planning, maybe.
Yeah, I think I can share an example here. The sprint goal is not just the sum total of product backlog items or tasks in the sprint backlog. The sprint goal could be, for example, something like, in this sprint, we really need to improve the login experience. Because that's perhaps where we're getting the greatest amount of feedback from our customers or our users, that they're struggling to log in. The forgot password thing is really clumsy, and so on. And so from that goal, we might derive some tasks and take on too much work. And then midway through the sprint, during a daily scrum, perhaps it becomes obvious that, oh, all those things we thought we would want to do to improve the login experience aren't going to be possible. How can we scale back but still improve the login experience? How can we make tangible and concrete improvements to the login experience within the sprint? And so I think what I'm trying to explain is there's a difference between achieving a sprint goal and the granular pieces of that, because those granular pieces are probably negotiable, changeable.
Yeah, so it's kind of another example that I can give is when I was working with a team who was creating a game, and we knew that we had a play testing happening. So we had a date where we knew that players were coming in and to test our game after the sprint, and we knew that we needed to be ready for it. So our sprint goal was we need to be ready for a 4-player experience. So our game needs to run. Obviously, when we started, the developers and the product owner, they really wanted to test so many different features. They wanted to make sure that we test this and we test this, and we get feedback from players on all these different features. But during the sprint, we had some technical difficulties, and we had to pivot. We had to remove so much work from the Sprint Backlog, but we still achieved our goal, and the team still felt that they did something great because we were ready for play testing. Yes, we couldn't really implement all of the features we really wanted them to test, but we still achieved the goal in general. So that's kind of why.
Quick question, doesn't that, I'll play the devil here, doesn't that mean that we are decreasing the quality somehow?
Well, there is a question about done. I don't know if it was voted, but let's do a little vote. If you go in Zoom and open participants, there is a yes or a no. So say yes if you think we should continue on this topic, or say no if you think we shouldn't continue on this topic. A couple of yeses, but mostly no's. Okay, I think we'll move forward from this topic and pick up a different topic. I'll consider this topic complete. Let's move on to the next one to respect our agreements from the start. So I'm moving this one into the discussed. The other one we had is that had 9 votes, so I'm going to pick this one. Good approaches to coaching a product owner, especially when he or she has tendency for command and control behavior.